to this episode of Cardinal Film Fights. I'm your host and judge, Mark Rollins. A little note, we are changing the format of Cardinal Film Fights. Instead of 4 questions in a 50-minute segment, we're doing 1 question in a 15-minute segment. We're hoping this helps viewers like you. Yeah, you. I'm looking. Yeah. You, Diane.
Yeah. From Minnesota?
Oh, from Minnesota? No.
How did you know?
Yeah.
They've been watching all of our episodes on repeat.
Anyway, we're hoping this helps viewers like you be able to watch more of our episodes and enjoy them to be more comfortable. And we hope you like it. That's what we're trying to. We hope you like it.
Get used to
But
it.
if you don't, let us know in the comments. We do read those. And hit our like and subscribe button, because we like it when you like and subscribe. Today we have Jacob Gannon, Haley Parnell, and Hunter Tom. What's your last name, Hunter?
Schaefer.
Schaefer.
I've only worked with you for like half a year now, but okay. Thank you.
I don't know people.
I'm never gonna let you forget this.
Okay,
let's keep going.
We're going. Yeah. Wow. I really should have thought about that before I said the first 2 names really confidently.
Yeah.
And then the
Hunter Simpson.
and Hunter. And then we have Von. No, it's Von Storm. Right? Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, okay. We have Von. And so. He's our fact checker, by the way. You can't see him, but he's there. He's real.
He checks last names.
Yes. So, a couple changes that come with this new format. We don't really have a point system because we're not really keeping track of anything. Whoever wins this question wins the entire film fight. Therefore, we also do not have any tiebreaker questions because there is no tie to break. Well, okay.
Just keep going.
Yeah, I'm going. Okay. So anywho, but everything else stays the same. We have a 60-second intro, a 5-minute forum, followed by a 30-second conclusion. And, it's all your favorite film fighty questions. So let's go around. We're going to introduce our fighters. They're going to give us their name, their year, their major, and a fun fact about themselves. We'll start with Hunter Schaefer, since I forgot.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hunter Schaefer, in case you forgot, like Mark. I'm a freshman telecommunications major with a focus on video production, and my fun fact is that I cannot think of a fun fact at this exact moment.
Gotcha. That is a fun fact.
That's fun, dude.
Yeah. That's rad. That's gnarly,
Nice.
dude. We'll move on to Haley.
My name is Haley Parnell. I am a freshman TCOM major and women's and gender studies minor. And my fun fact is that last time I was on this show, I got 2nd place the entire time. Looking at you, Mark.
It's funny.
So I'm going to win this time.
It's better than 10, as we all know. Sorry.
Talk to my friends.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, talk to my friends. My friends do not like 10. Anywho, on to Jacob.
I'm Jacob Gannon. I'm a senior telecommunications video production major. And I can cook minute rice in 58 seconds.
Wow.
Whoa.
Don't worry
Wouldn't
about
it be a little cold?
It's
Some
my
of your
fault,
ways.
not yours.
Okay. So, for today's question, pitch a reboot for a TV show that is no longer airing new episodes. So, we will start with Haley.
All right. My reboot for a TV show that's no longer airing is Freaks and Geeks. It was only on for 1 season, and I want to bring back the whole cast and the writer and director, Judd Apatow, because they all were really good friends, so they all get along very well anyway, and were really good on the show, which made a beautiful production. And in this reboot, they're all coming back to their same high school for their 20th high school reunion, but since the 80s feel of the show really sold it, there will also be flashbacks of how each character got to where they are now. And that's it.
Awesome. We'll go over to Jacob.
I chose Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as my show. Picture this. Okay, got to start back a little. For those who don't know, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ended with the Banks family splitting apart and Will Smith staying in California to finish his studies. In my reboot, Will Smith has raised his kids in a poor environment. He went on to be less successful than his family members, or the people he lived with. He is now raising his kids, who are Jaden and Willow, his actual children. Philip Bank dies. He has died tragically and leaves Will money in his inheritance in the will. And now Will lives in a fancy place to raise his kids. That's my pitch. I think the Smith dynasty can take over this market and will run the show up into the ratings, box office, money, cash pile. That's what it's going to do. It's called The Fresher Prince of Bel-Air.
Just picture Scrooge
The freshest.
diving.
The Freshest.
Awesome. And we will finish with Hunter.
All right,
Schaefer.
I'm arguing that they need to bring back Sense8. It's a Netflix original show that got canceled after 2 seasons. Very famously, this show is well known for its diverse cast of characters. Basically, the plot of the film revolved around the idea of 8 people being telepathically linked and being able to communicate with each other in that way. It was really interesting because it was filmed on location around the world. It also had a really lackluster ending. It was a cliffhanger, and it was such a big deal, and it had such a devoted fan base that they actually are going to bring it a 2-hour special to wrap the whole story up in 2018. I'm arguing that they just need to bring the show back because it was incredible. And the fact that it was an LGBTQ friendly show and it got canceled on Pride Month is just absolutely shameful. So, bring it back. Come on, Netflix.
All right. We will now go into our 5-minute forum.
I find it interesting that both of your shows were canceled after 1 or 2 seasons, and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ended because of, I don't know, whatever reason, but it was not canceled. Does that sound right? Were both your shows just cut off the air?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I find that interesting. That makes me wary about a reboot success of those shows. Whereas I would argue Sense8, you have to Google. I didn't know what Sense8 was. Whereas Freaks and Geeks and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, people are familiar with those. That's what I got.
All right, well, my problem with The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is that is such a quintessentially 90s show to begin with. How the heck would that translate in 2018?
Also,
I just don't think it
for
would.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith went on the Graham Norton show and talked about a potential reboot and said that he couldn't stand watching himself in that character's role anymore, so he just wouldn't give off a good performance for the main character.
Okay.
Plus, also, the show was so happy to begin with. Why is it that your reboot idea is so damn dark?
It's not dark.
It kind of was. You painted
are
it
you
as like him
emotionally
being a
attached to
failure.
Philip Banks in any way, in any sort of the
I
word?
mean, the show.
No, you're not.
I love the
think
show from my childhood. I don't see why is it all of a sudden has to get this gritty, dark reboot where
That's not
he's
dark
a failure.
Reboot. Will Smith has all right. He inherited money and he's successful now. Why is that so gritty? I would love to hear more about this Freaks and Geeks stuff. What's different now? Why is it going to be successful this time?
It was successful the first time, actually.
Then why did it end? I
Well,
just don't get
Judd
it.
Apatow Judd Apatow liked the way it ended, actually. He didn't mind it being canceled because he ended it with the idea that there didn't have to be more seasons. But there could potentially be a reboot because him and the whole cast are connected still and put on such a great performance before that they could still do that in the future. As for Sense8, actually Netflix had a statement about why they can't bring another season out because although the audience was very passionate, they found that it wasn't large enough to support the economics of that big of a production.
I think it's very cool that you're talking about what these real companies said and what these real actors said, but that's not the question. We're pitching a reboot, not what people said about reboots.
I'm just saying how it could affect if the reboot could even happen.
It clearly was popular enough that they're going to have to return to it as a special. That never happens. Normally when a show gets canceled, it's canned. Nobody goes back to it.
Yeah.
But the fact that Netflix's, the fact that it became a cult hit was enough for it to end up getting back on their radar. They're going to make a 2-hour special to go and try to wrap this up. And, honestly, I just feel like the show itself, especially with how diverse and interesting it was, I just honestly think that it would have been perfect for a reboot. I feel like they should have continued on with it as opposed to making a 2-hour special.
I think that I'm just looking at the question in the sense that although it's a good idea to have a reboot, you have to see if it can also work. and I think for their 2-hour special, it financially works. But continuing the show, it's not enough.
I don't
for
think,
them
I don't
to
think
work.
your show works though, off the fact that the whole show was basically based around these children struggling in school in the first place. They're coming back for their high school reunion. That is
But
sure
we're
it ties
still
into
adding
high school.
flashbacks.
Yeah, but how can you do flashbacks when the people are already? What is it? The show got canceled in 2000, was it?
Yes.
Which means that there's been 17 years since then that they've aged. That they would
And it's
somehow
also
have to
it's such a
film the
comedic
flashbacks
show
around.
that they can still do that is the thing.
I
And
th-
it doesn't have to be all the way back into their high school
I feel
years.
like the show runs off of a lot of outdated stereotypes that just doesn't really exist in 2018. It's about like dealing with bullying and talking to girls and all kinds of stuff like that. And honestly, I just don't think that it holds up. I feel like it's been overdone. I feel like it's trite.
I think you can speak confidently on behalf of the actor's talent and their ability to bring like a good performance, but I think pitching a reboot for a show that relies on flashbacks is a little easy and kind of cheating. It's not new content, which is the point of a reboot. Like my pitch for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it's
It's
kind
a
of
soulless cash grab. I agree. I honestly don't think
okay.
it
So
has
is that why
any of
is
the-
that unsuccessful?
It holds none of the charm that the original show is known
But
for in the
what
first
is
place.
success
It
measured
gives
in
a-
charm or money? Because
it
your
gives
show
a
got canceled
dishonest-
and mine
It gives a
continued.
dishonest idea of what the Fresh
Dishonest.
Prince was in the first place. I honestly just don't think it works in 2017 or 2018 at this point.
All right. Well, let's see who we started with. Haley for the intros.
Mhm.
We'll start with Jacob.
No, it's totally cool. Yeah, I think the Smith family name holds a lot of weight, and I think putting them in an environment to act together hasn't been done and could become very successful based on the show's success in the first place. And I would argue Sense8 and Freaks and Geeks got canceled for a reason, and yep, if I could drop this mic, I would, but
And we'll go to Hunter.
Yeah, so my problem with the fresher Prince of Bel-Air is just the fact that I honestly just don't think it has any of the magic of the original, what made the original great. And honestly, just for that reason, I don't think it would hold up. And honestly, when it comes to Freaks and Geeks, I just don't understand how would you be able to make it work with all these flashbacks and whatnot in the first place, just because how old the actors have gotten and how perceptions of school have changed. And I just think that the fact that they're doing a 2-hour special just proves that Sense8 still has its appeal.
And we'll finish with Haley.
Okay, so for Freaks and Geeks, I still think that it would be a great reboot because of the success that it had and the success that it can still bring. It wouldn't just be solely based on flashbacks. There would still be that part of them meeting each other again in the present, and I totally disagree on some of Hunter's comments on what you see in schools today and how it's not the same as before. I think that some of that still applies as opposed to these other shows.
Any facts to check Vaughn?
Everything seems truthful.
Okay.
everything appears to be truthful.
Everything seems okay.
We'll never
Mate.
know.
Well, I've just come to realize, I was like, hey, this little after moment, I don't get a lot of chance to talk during, the fight, the hustle and bustle. So I'm milking this for all it's worth. Just want to say hi to my mom and dad. I don't think they're watching. I don't think they know how to get on YouTube. But if they could, they would. Hi, Mom, Dad. Hello to my sister. She lives in New Jersey. Well, New Jersey works in New York. Anywho, hello to her. Hello to my cat, Bob. He doesn't have a tail. He's kind of fat, but he's nice. He's a coward. I like him. So, yeah. Okay, that's all I wanted to say this episode, Oh, yeah, you people. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Forgot
So-
my name, then you forgot we existed.
My decision.
That was your heartbeat.
Oh. I'm gonna give first to Haley, second to Hunter, third to Jake. Okay, and you probably want to know why.
A little.
Of course.
Okay, Haley, I think you made a good argument that there was a lot of popularity surrounding Freaks and Geeks when it was canceled, and one season undoubtedly leaves the fan base wanting more. I think you explained it well that it wouldn't rely solely on flashbacks, but it would appeal using flashbacks partially to the old demographic while still appealing to a newer demographic with new content. So I was interested to see how that play out, and I think you also made a very good point in that a lot of the things that were brought up in Freaks and Geeks still apply to schools today because schools don't really change that much.
True.
Hunter, I'm gonna. What? I'm sorry. What?
I disagree, but by all means,
Oh,
go
okay.
right ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I should hope you disagree. You lost.
No, I was talking about what you said with the schools, but no, anyway.
Okay. Anyway.
Second place.
Anywho, Hunter, I think you made a good point that Sense8 was a very interesting show and had a very loyal fan base. I think Jacob and Haley kind of hit you in that while the fan base was loyal, it wasn't necessarily big enough to warrant a full reboot instead of just a special. So I think that's where you mainly got hit hard. And so I think the special probably would be the best way to appeal to the small but loyal fan base rather than a full-on reboot. And then, Jacob, they just hit you hard by saying that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is a quintessential 90s show and that Will Smith has made public statements saying he would not want to play that character again. But, he may, but you had strong arguments that it would make a lot of money and it would draw a lot of attention. But I don't know if it would maintain the support necessarily to sustain a reboot. So, to recap, Haley first place, Hunter second, Jacob third. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Cardinal Film Fights. As always, I'm your host and moderator, Mark Rollins. Oh, and I'm also judge. I do that too because that's what I just did. Anywho, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if there are any certain fights you want to see. Want to chat about our new format, hit comment below. And have a wonderful day, evening, month, year, millennium. Bye.